Hi, everyone. My name is Lily. I'm 26 years old, and I've been dating my boyfriend, Jake, for exactly 1 year. At first, I was nervous about meeting someone online, but we connected right away because we had similar family backgrounds. Now, he understands me better than anyone, and he's a really important part of my life. One day, we were invited to an outdoor party hosted by Jake's friend, so we decided to go together. It was a barbecue at a cabin owned by his friend's father. The food was amazing, and I got to meet his friends for the first time. Their wives and girlfriends were all kind and welcoming. At first, I was a little nervous, but by the time we left, I felt completely comfortable. On the way home, Jake suddenly pulled over and started talking. "What did you think of my friends? They're really nice. I'm happy I got along with them and had such a great time. Thanks for taking me there." "Really? That makes me happy. I want us to keep making good memories together, maybe even as husband and wife. What do you think?" I was shocked. Was this a proposal? Of course, I said yes. It felt like a dream. We were so excited that, in the heat of the moment, we decided, let's have our wedding at that hotel. The hotel we had in mind was a special place for us. It was where Jake took me on our first road trip together. It's a quiet hotel in the mountains, with a beautiful view of the lake. When we visited before, we saw a couple having their wedding there, and I had mentioned how lovely it looked, so we both agreed it would be the perfect place for our wedding. But as soon as we arrived, our excitement faded. The hotel was luxurious and well known for hosting wealthy guests. Since we were coming straight from the barbecue, we were dressed casually, just t-shirts, jeans, sneakers, and backpacks. We didn't exactly blend in with the fancy atmosphere. As we entered, a hotel staff member glanced at us and then completely ignored us. We even noticed some of the other employees exchanging looks and smirking. I started feeling self-conscious, but Jake confidently walked deeper into the lobby. At the front desk, the staff whispered and pointed at us, making us feel even more out of place. The last time we came here, we had dressed more formally, and no one had treated us this way. I gently pulled on Jake's hand, but he squeezed mine back as if telling me not to worry. We reached the concierge desk. The concierge looked surprised at first but then gave us a cold smile. "May I help you?" I wanted to say, "Obviously, that's why we're here," but I let Jake handle it. "We're thinking about having our wedding here. Could you tell us where we can find the wedding planning office?" The concierge's expression changed instantly. He looked disgusted. "This isn't an ordinary hotel," he said. "It's a place for celebrities and wealthy guests. I don't think this is the kind of place where people like you would have a wedding." Jake stayed calm. "I understand. We've been here before, and we love the view. That's why we thought it would be a great place to have our wedding." The concierge frowned. "Like I said, this isn't a place for people like you." "What do you mean by that?" Jake asked, his frustration showing. "Can you just direct us to the wedding planning office?" The concierge's next words stunned us. "This hotel isn't for poor people like you. Please leave immediately." What, did he just call us poor? I was furious, but before I could say anything, Jake spoke up. "Did you just call a customer poor? Is this how your hotel trains its staff?" "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're making the lobby look unappealing, and it's bothering our other guests." Jake clenched his jaw. "We're just asking about a wedding. Can't we at least take a tour of the venue?" I couldn't stay silent anymore. "A tour? A wedding? You must be joking. Even if you saved up your whole life, you couldn't afford a wedding here. It would be a waste of time." The concierge scoffed. His rude words made my blood boil. Jake sighed and turned to me. "Let's just go, Lily." Everyone's staring. And just like that, our excitement was ruined. "Lily, just stay out of it. This hotel isn't worth it. If they can't treat people with basic respect, that's their problem." Jake's frustration was clear. He couldn't stand unfairness, and when he saw it, he never backed down. But I knew from experience that arguing like this usually just made things worse. "Is this how you were trained in customer service?" Jake's voice was sharp. "As a concierge, aren't you supposed to be a professional? Do you think it's okay to treat us like this?" Before the concierge could answer, a new voice interrupted. "What's going on here?" A man stepped forward. He looked important. The hotel manager. He must have come over, thinking we were causing trouble. "We're just asking for a tour because we're interested in having our wedding here," Jake replied, keeping his cool. The manager looked us up and down, just like the others had. Then he chuckled, shaking his head. "I'm afraid a wedding at our hotel might be a bit out of your reach." The concierge, now feeling even bolder, added, "That's exactly what I told them, but they won't leave. They're disturbing our other guests by standing in the lobby for so long. I'm sorry, but I think it's best if you give up on the wedding and leave." The manager nodded. "Yes, I have to agree." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my anger in check. "Wait a second, we're just asking for a tour. What's the problem with that?" The manager crossed his arms. I'm the hotel manager, and if you keep loitering here, he gestured to call security. Jake narrowed his eyes. So what do we have to do to get a simple tour? The manager smirked. Well, if you were to buy the hotel and become the owner. I stared at him in disbelief. Was he serious? What kind of ridiculous answer was that? I was about to explode, but Jake just muttered, I see, so that's how it is? The owner, huh? And seemed lost in thought. At that moment, I noticed security heading toward us. I grabbed Jake's hand and whispered, let's just go. As we turned to leave, I heard the manager give one last order to the concierge. Call housekeeping, the lobby's been dirted, have it cleaned right away. Dirted? What was dirty? In my head, I cursed at them, thinking their rude attitudes were filthier than anything else. We left the hotel, both upset. I wanted to take a walk in the garden and enjoy the view of the lake before heading home, but as we strolled, we ran into the same manager from earlier. Oh dear, this is a problem, he said, frowning. If you walk around here, it could ruin the view for our guests. What's wrong with looking at the view? Is that not allowed? I asked. This view is for paying guests. If you can't afford to stay here, you should leave, he said, waving us away like we were pests. Are you seriously thinking about a wedding? A garden wedding? Give up. Do you even know how much it costs to rent this space? Now, please leave. Then, out of nowhere, he sprayed me with a hose. Stop hanging around and get moving. I gasped. Oh no, I'm soaked. What is wrong with this man? Hey, what do you think you're doing? Jake shouted. The manager shrugged. There was a stray cat in the garden. I was just spraying to clean it up. Just then, a cat actually appeared, and the manager raised the hose again. That was the last straw for Jake. Are you calling Lily a stray cat? That's enough. Is this how a hotel treats people, spraying them with water? Call the cops. I was furious but also embarrassed, standing there dripping wet. I need to change. Let's just go, I snapped, dragging Jake back to the car. We had come here excited to plan our wedding, but this was turning into a nightmare. This hotel felt nothing like the place we had visited on our date. It was like a completely different world. Now, sitting in the car, the reality sank in. My clothes were wet, and my mood was ruined. Thankfully, I had a spare outfit in the car. After changing and feeling a bit better, Jake turned to me. Lily, what do you want to do? Do you still want our wedding here? I sighed. I don't know. The hotel itself is beautiful, but the staff? I'm not sure. I see. Let's think about it, he said simply. That was the end of that conversation. After that, we focused on telling our families about our engagement. Our parents asked about our wedding plans, but for now, we only told them we wanted a small ceremony with close friends and family. We left the location undecided. We visited several wedding venues, but none felt right. We even considered a destination wedding. As I flipped through a bridal magazine, lost in thought, my phone rang. Lily, we did it. We can get married at that hotel. What? What are you talking about? It was a bit of a process, but since it's my hotel now, you can plan the wedding however you want. I was speechless. It turns out Jake comes from a wealthy family, and he managed to get that hotel added to their chain. The manager told me that if I wanted to have my wedding there, I should own the hotel, so I did, he said, sounding pleased with himself. I couldn't believe it. He had been working on this all along. A week later, we returned to the hotel. On the way, Jake grinned. That hotel's reputation has been going downhill, and it was affecting business. I'm going to fix things and make it a better place. This time, the staff greeted us properly, standing in neat rows as they welcomed their new boss. I noticed the same bellboy who had laughed at us before was now bowing deeply. So they could treat us with respect after all. If only they had done that from the start. Then, the hotel manager arrived. Welcome, Mr. Owner, he said, his voice filled with fake enthusiasm. Not just him, every staff member, including the rude concierge, stood there, acting like we were the most important people in the world. They didn't seem to realize that we were the poor people they had mistreated before. It was almost laughable, seeing how quickly they had changed their attitudes. It was a lesson I'd never forget. Soon, we were escorted to the owner's suite, with the manager fawning over us the whole time. We've been looking forward to meeting the new owner, and to think someone as young as you owns this hotel. How impressive. And your fiancé is so beautiful. What a perfect couple. Huh, is this the same guy who called us stray cats? Now we're handsome and beautiful? Does he even recognize us? Maybe his glasses don't have lenses. And seriously, this manager can't even remember his customers? That's unbelievable. He told us he'd set up a meeting so we could greet the employees later. While we waited, I turned to Jake. What's with that manager? He has no idea who we are. Handsome and beautiful, really? He didn't recognize us at all. That's actually kind of amazing, Jake chuckled. Well, at least he seems motivated. If he does his job well, I guess that's what matters. Do you think he's really fit to be a manager? Don't worry, I'll handle it. As we talked, I kept thinking about how ridiculous the whole thing was. Finally, it was time. We entered the hall where all the employees were gathered. Jake stepped forward. I'm the new owner of this hotel. I know some of you might be unsure because I'm young, but the headquarters will handle business properly, so there's no need to worry. We plan to turn this hotel into a peaceful getaway, different from the luxury city hotels. After fixing up the older parts of the building, we'll have a grand reopening, and to celebrate, I'll be having my wedding here. The employees started whispering in surprise at the unexpected announcement. Then Jake looked at me and called me to the stage. As I walked up, I noticed the manager's face suddenly change. He looked completely shocked. Wait, that's... Yes, Jake said, smiling, this is my fiancé. The manager blinked in disbelief. Oh, so this isn't our first meeting, is it? You really didn't recognize me either, did you? I said, amused. I was wearing a simple t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers, the same casual outfit I had on during our first visit. If I had worn a fancy dress, he probably wouldn't have made the connection, but just by dressing like before, he suddenly remembered me. Unbelievable. This guy really judges people based on their clothes. Looking around, I saw the bellboys and front desk employees from that day staring at us, eyes wide. The concierge? Oh, he looked pale and nervous, shifting uncomfortably. It seemed like he finally realized who we were. Jake, seeing their reactions, turned back to the employees who still didn't know what had happened. Actually, we came to this hotel recently, he explained. Back then, we were dressed like she is now, and that's when I proposed to her. I was so excited when we first came here, thinking this would be the perfect place for our wedding, but then... The bellboy, oh, that's you, right? You ignored us and didn't even greet us properly, then you laughed at us. The front desk staff? You whispered and pointed at us. The concierge? You didn't even listen when we asked about having our wedding here. Instead, you told us poor people should leave. And the worst of all, you, the manager. Actually, I recorded part of our conversation. Let's listen to it together. I played the recording, and as the employees listened, they started murmuring in shock. They called them poor people? That's awful. The manager turned pale and started shaking. When the recording ended, Jake spoke again. As you can hear, we were judged based on our clothes. In the end, we were sprayed with water and kicked out. Is this acceptable? The employees shook their heads, agreeing with him. Clothes don't define a person. In reality, I come from a family that owns a chain of hotels, and my fiancée is the daughter of a big pharmaceutical company CEO. We're not poor. But what if we had been regular guests? Should anyone be treated this way? I added, this hotel isn't in a super convenient location, so it should focus on offering great service to everyone who makes the effort to visit. I want to bring it back to what it once was. Let's work together to make it the best hotel again. The room filled with applause. After that, Jake made some big changes. He demoted the rude staff, the manager, concierge, and anyone with a history of poor work attitude. The manager and concierge had to start from scratch, working as cleaning staff. Meanwhile, hardworking employees who had been overlooked got promoted. Even part-time workers were given better positions. He made sure the right people were in the right roles, and soon, the hotel had a much more positive atmosphere. Jake also listened to everyone's ideas and quickly made improvements. Even just watching from the side, I could tell how much better things were becoming. In the end, he completely turned the hotel around. And yes, we had our wedding here, just like we originally planned. It was a small, quiet ceremony, but it felt right. About a year later, Jake handed over the hotel to a new manager and stepped down. It'll be fine without me, he said. But honestly, I think he just wanted more time to play video games.